Welcome, everybody, to Lucky 13, episode 13 of the PBMED podcast. I'm your host, Dustin, here with my co-host, Brent.
That's me.
How's it going, Brent?
It's good, man. How are you?
Oh, it's good. I feel like we were just in here.
I know. We went from like a 4 or 5 week filming schedule to exactly a week, and it feels like we just did this.
Yeah,
it's crazy
I was like,
how
holy
that
crap.
feels. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the queue filled up really quick.
It did.
It wasn't like there's not paddles now.
Friday and Saturday, I got so many paddles. I think I got like 8 or 9 in the mail between Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, and we've got a lot more on the way, too.
Yeah.
And we've been able to play. We played together.
Yeah, twice.
Last
2 days.
Yeah, drilled and games.
Yeah.
I was going to say, everybody, I'd like you to join me in congratulating Brent with his celebratory beer. He finally beat me in some drills for the first time today. So I did agree to buy him a beer. So, well, he bought that, but I got to Venmo him. I'll Venmo him after this. So good job, Brent. Golf clap.
Mm-hmm. I bet there's no footage of that either.
No comment on that is what there is. Okay, so we've got a few updates and then some new paddles that we tested. First, in our section of updates, we've played a bit with the head Motion Pro BOA shoes, which are pretty interesting. Yeah. And I saw you wearing them again today. What have you thought so far, Brent?
They're really neat. I really like the lace system or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I forget what they call it, but it's the thing with the dials.
Yeah. The
dials and the cords, and man, it's fun, isn't it?
It is. It's like you can make little micro adjustments based on how your foot feels in the shoe. I know, like on the way to play today, I had them a little looser so they weren't super tight while I was driving in the car, because I'm one of those people that wear my pickleball shoes from the time I leave the house till I get to the courts. I'm not the type that wears slippers and then puts on my shoes at the courts. I'm always running too late to do that. I had them loose on the way and then tightened them up when we got to the courts, and worked out great. I like the micro adjustments, especially for my feet, because they aren't your standard foot. Yeah. One side is half a size smaller than the other, so I can really like tighten my right shoe down like tighter. That's and my left one is just like, I guess, like normal tightness, but I really clamp that right one down, and it allows me to feel secure. The shoes, secure in each shoe. They're the same size, and typically one foot usually feels uncomfortable, right? I can mitigate it. Yeah,
because the squares we had last time, you had 2 different sizes.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So with this, I was able to really cinch down the right side and make that feel nice and secure, and my left side wasn't super constricted, because I had control of that as well. So I really like that aspect of it. And like, I don't know if this is a compliment or a diss, but I didn't really notice the shoes once I had them on and was playing.
That's a compliment.
I think it's a compliment, right?
Yeah.
I didn't notice like, ow, my foot hurts, or whoa, I felt my foot slip, or this feels clunky. I'd say maybe they're slightly clunky, or they're a little wider or bigger than the shoe I typically go for. But overall, like, I kind of forgot they were there, and I think you're right. I think that is a compliment. So so far I'm enjoying these. Yeah,
they're probably the first shoe I've had that they're fun to put on.
Yeah, they really are.
They really are. I'm just like zip zip, like loosen it and then slide your foot in and then zip zip, and I'm like, let's do that again. And I zip 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 zip. Like the ADHD of mine was just like rolling. There was some concern we had about the tension system, the pulley system weakening, and I had some people comment on our last video, thinking that was pretty unlikely, considering this technology is used in some other products of like equivalent nature anyways, like snowboarding shoes, and they commented about the cables themselves having some sort of like, robust structure. So that gave me a little bit of confidence. I was like, cool. Like, I do hope they last, but we've only really used them like a week or so.
Yeah, so can't really speak to the durability right now of the sole or the the system on it. But it's funny, we were playing today and I was showing Steven the shoe, and I was like, yeah, it feels like these were made for my 3-year-old daughter. Like they're super like
like you're velcroing it over.
Slide your foot in and you turn it. You don't have to tie anything. And he's like, oh, those kind of look like snowboard boot shoes. And
he would know.
Like, oh, okay. Yeah, I've never been snowboarding, but it sounds like the people in the comments and Steven are familiar with the technology.
Yeah. They're interesting shoes. They're fun. I saw at least particularly moving from the squares, which are wide, to those. They're definitely more narrow. I felt like the tread felt very, like the sole and the outsole, just the whole bottom of the shoe felt kind of more thick. Yeah. And maybe that's just an adjustment going from the squares to those. So I noticed that. But I also wondered how it would feel with only 2 main attachment points on the side, if that would pinch or like maybe not be totally secure. But it's not that there's 2 attachment points. It's that, the cable rounds the pulleys. So it still crosses your foot at multiple points. And it felt snug. I didn't feel any movement.
Yeah, I didn't either. And that's something that I typically will feel. I'm more sensitive to that because my toe box area is a little more narrow than the average foot. So if there is any movement, I usually notice that before other people do. And it felt pretty secure. And I think because I can really tighten that
one
down.
More click if you need to.
And you mentioned the sole seemed a little thicker. I think that's where I was getting, like, maybe the shoe felt a little clunky in the sense that the sole was thicker. So maybe that's what was getting in my head of this feels a little more less maneuverable than the squares or the other like big shoes like the Babolat's or the Mizuno's.
Yeah, and we'll see if that's a pro or a con, because I mean they advertise that they have more reinforcement over the big toe, and if you look at them, you can see that the tread, like the outsole here, like it's got the tread on the bottom and it kind of wraps up around on the inside here, kind of like just on the front. And to be honest, I don't know if that's incredibly functional as far as adding durability or not, but I think that they're saying that it is. Yeah. That's not exactly where I get my wear. I'm usually like on the bottom. Yeah. But if it lasts a significant amount of time, I usually go through a pair of shoes in like 2 months. So if it lasts 4 months, 5 months, that's pretty significant to me. If it lasts 2 months, maybe not so much. And then, I don't know. They sell, if I'm remembering right, on Pickleball Central for $200. Again, I'll put the link below for 10% off on these shoes, but they are on the more expensive side. They're fun. They are. And again, I think the big question people always wonder about is like how long they last. Is the $200, how far is that going to go? Right,
exactly. So. Just judging by the thickness of the sole, I would think they're going to last a little while, but I feel like you're the ultimate test because it feels like you burn through shoes.
I don't know why that is. It's just, anybody who has perfect technique, you will in pickleball wear through the big toe. Yes. If not, then maybe you don't. And then you will once in a while win some points and every once in a while win some drills, but not always. Just every once in a while.
Yes, it's your perfect technique that's leading to the premature wearing of your shoes.
That is absolutely correct.
The shoes just can't handle how perfect
we need perfect shoes for the perfect technique.
You need to go work with squares or whoever.
But they still need to be maneuverable and not clunky. Another update from last week. This I thought was really interesting. I didn't think I would see this in like effect doing what it's supposed to do, or at least in theory, so soon. But have you ever used, or you've seen the images of people using CT scans for paddles, right? There was a guy, 𝒊𝒏, guy or gal, I really don't know, who serves as a general dentist in Malaysia.
From the Discord, right?
Yeah, that's right. So they posted on Discord a CT scan, and I'll post this on screen now. You can kind of fan through a paddle and look really intricately through the slices. I would probably call them like axial, like kind of moving up through the body from bottom to top of a paddle, and look at how straight and how orderly or whatever the core is in a paddle, and other things as well. But this scan that I've put on the screen now, that's what a normal one looks like. And this one here that I'll put on screen now, you've seen these images too, right? So this came from the GRUVN HD paddle that failed the PBCoR.
That we were so surprised. That PBCoR.
Yeah, so it's just some and again, that is incredibly surprising.
Gen 1, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because so it's usually Gen 2 paddles that get smashed down and come pre-compressed from the factory because they get smashed down in their mold and then they, get heated in place and whatever. So I'm not sure if I've ever heard of a Gen 1 paddle being over-compressed before. Yeah. It's almost always Gen 2 or Gen 3 paddles. So anyways, this is what the utility of a CT scan. This USAP performed this scan, and I don't know if they have a scanner or they sent it off to somebody else, but this was their response to Kevin, the GRUVN's owner, that was like, hey, how is this possible?
Yeah, why did this
fail? And they're like, well, look at this image.
Like, Gen 1 paddle fail,
they're like, well, because it's core crushed. And that was a brand new paddle. Yeah. So something is weird from the factory on that one. What it is, I don't know, but apparently he hasn't had any problems with this in the past in several years, or at least minimal problems. So very strange.
Sounds like just a freak thing that happened and led to a paddle that we were clearly surprised that would fail PBCoR, failing PBCoR. So
yeah, and I don't know if that means that all the paddles that are listed right now, like that GRUVN has been selling, or that the ones that we have are also core crushed. I mean, they're not thermoforming in place, so it's not like they'd have to break free per se. They certainly didn't feel any different than a normal Gen 1 paddle.
No.
Oh, I don't know.
Core crush is not how I would describe any of those new paddles that
maybe they go from control to all accord after a few weeks. Heck, I don't know. And then nobody's going to worry.
That would be maybe a good break-in. I don't know.
That would be like a non-threatening break-in. The paddle gets really good.
Non-threatening break-in would be a good way to describe that.
Yeah, that's my pipe dream, is to get a CT scanner of my own for pickleball paddles.
One day when you're out of residency making, attending physician money, you can get you a CT.
The order is home court, CT scanner.
Home court, definitely.
Whatever else, in like a barn, in a closed structure or whatever. Next update. So with all the tariffs and everything and people potentially going up on prices or lowering discounts, I thought it was interesting. Got an email this last week. Engage is going down on price in several of their paddles. I don't know if you got this email or not, but the first one, so the Pro 1 Innovations that we just got and reviewed, not a huge drop in price, but they went from $270 or $280, I can't remember, down to $260. And so for context, Engage has some more paddles coming out at the end of this year. Basically, that's all I said. In preparation for new paddles coming, we are lowering the price of some of these paddles, and they didn't straight out say that they're not going to be selling these paddles in the future, or they're clearing inventory per se, but they're lowering costs to be more competitive, essentially. So take that for whatever you think. So the Pursuit Pro EX and MX, so those are now $200. And the Enthusiast line, so that's the Evolution Aero, the Pursuit V2.0, and there was one other one. The Pursuit V2.0 in particular. So this, I keep saying this is like got to be one of my most favorite Engage paddles, because it's almost just as good as all the rest of them. It's really light, and it's got the carbon fiber face, whatever, the black core, and it's always been the more budget friendly option. So that one went from $180 to $99.
Whoa!
And that's before codes. So I don't know what the future of Engage is going to be like for codes, but right now you can use 20 Dustin, and that takes 20% off. So that'll take that one to $80. And that may just be like one of the best deals like in pickleball right now. Pretty much plays like the Pro 1, just a little bit lighter at 16 millimeters.
Yeah, you've been a fan of that one for a while now. I remember you saying it when you got your hands on it the first time.
Yeah, that one was in my top 10 paddles of the year last year, and it was my sleeper paddle. And I still think it's really good. I think of all the paddles, I would stick around with that one because it's just such a good price and it's so close to all the others.
Yeah,
I think it has a good place for people. All right, you ready to get into our new paddles?
Yeah. Do we need to do rounds before?
Ooh, do we? Oh, should we? Let's do it. Sure. What the heck? Yeah. Let me think. Oh man. So let's do it. Let's do paddle. Let's do our paddle rounds. Talk about our main paddles. So, I do think that I have one that's really close to challenging the unmarked, which will soon be the Mark II R2 or something.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about this today. And I don't have a ton of time with it yet, but my new contender is the 16 millimeter Joola Scorpeus.
You played really well with that today.
Gosh, this was freaking good.
I
almost hate how good it was.
It was night and day. You went from one paddle, not playing great, another paddle, not playing great. Fine, thank you. And then you picked that one up, and it was just like,
thanks.
We just smacked him 11-1 because Dustin just upped his duper by 1 whole point with the Joola.
My duper went up this week, by the way, 0.1 points. Hey, thank you very much. Hey. All the way up, almost pushing 4 or 5 now, after a huge drop a few weeks ago. Hey. But anyways, yeah, man. Oh, so we'll talk more about this later because that's new to us for this podcast. But so the swing weight on that, I think it's like 113 or something. The plow through is really good. The sweet spot's great. I didn't have to add any weight to it. It was a nice change from what I had been using.
Yeah.
And I'm really considering switching to that one versus the unmarked or the Mark II R2. So it'll be close. I'll have to put more time between them and see, because it's a big shape change going from the elongated to the standard.
Yeah, you're one of the only people I know that can just be like, yeah, I'm maining this elongated, but like this standard shape paddle really got my eye. I don't know how you do that.
You can't do it with every paddle. You can't do it with the Franklin standard, like what we're talking about today. That one is like extra short.
Yeah, but just like, even if it was the best standard shape paddle out there, I still struggle so much with standard shape paddles.
Basically useless when it comes to talking about standard paddles.
Yeah, I am, yeah. You got to carry the weight on that. I'm like, yeah, they all suck, sorry.
Okay. Brent's like, oh no, of course I've never hit the fat boy. Like, I can't compare that. Okay, all right, Brent, what you got? Anything new from you?
Yeah, well, sort of. I've been flirting with some other paddles recently. So, you know,
I don't know this. I know. I have a guess for this.
Yeah. I think I've mentioned a little bit about it, but you know, longtime Pulse S has been my main.
About to be extinct.
So that did get me thinking, like, should I start looking elsewhere? And so the other place I started looking is going to be extinct sometime too, but that's the Pulse X, which is the elongated version of the Pulse S. I've been using that for the past 2 weeks, and when I first got my hands on it, right, I
have one here.
Do you?
I think it's somewhere. I have the S right there.
Oh, it's right there.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, so there's our Pulse X.
There's the Pulse X right there. Trusty old X. I had kind of, you know, I sort of wrote it off because it was a little heavy. Swing weight was a little high out of the box.
Low 120s, something like that.
But you got some flick weights in a few weeks back or months back now at this point. And I'd put one on the bottom, played with it for maybe an hour. Was like, okay, that does feel a little better. The balance point's a little lower. It doesn't feel as heavy and as high of a swing weight. But I'd kind of set it to the side, preparing for tournaments, preparing for PPA, and then since those have all come and gone, started playing with the X again, and man, I'm really liking that.
It feels great, doesn't it?
Now. It does.
It feels so good.
It's just as powerful as the broken in S that I have. It's not quite as soft, but it's still pretty soft.
The plow through is so good.
Plow through is great.
It
Pop
grabs and throws like out of the box.
Yeah,
it's a good paddle.
Yeah,
really
you don't have to put 20 hours in to break it in to make it feel like it's powerful enough and poppy enough and responsive enough. It kind of comes that way. So I have been hitting with that a lot recently. Okay. Been liking it a lot more than the Pulse S. And the other one I've been flirting with.
I felt like there's another one coming.
Just today and a little bit yesterday is the Joola Hyperion.
Yeah, this was my
16.
Other guess. Yeah. We got both of those too. Yeah, here's your 16. Yeah. This was the one I was thinking based off of just how the last few days playing with you has been.
This, you know, we've been hitting a lot of different paddles over the past couple of days, and this one just it just makes pickleball feel easier to me.
Yeah, this led Brent to his first drill win over me today, so it says something.
It has very similar like feel as the Perseus Pro 4. It just is a little less power, little less pop, a little more maneuverable, not as heavy, not as high swing weight. And those were all things that I was kind of looking for. That was, you know, my knock against the Perseus was that it was just a little too much juice, a little too heavy for what I wanted. And I thought the Agassi might be able to fill that spot for me. Yeah. And it kind of did, but hitting this today, I am enjoying this a lot now.
Notice the shape similarity there.
Oh, I know. It's probably the
Brent's old trusty S and that. I mean, the curves are a little different, but overall,
it's that
the
arrow
hybrid
curve,
shape. Yeah. I mean, we said this last time. They call it an elongated. It's not quite elongated. It's a little shorter. It plays more like a hybrid.
It does.
It feels like a hybrid.
Plays like a long hybrid. It's like a 16.375.
Yeah.
16.4.
It's not like crazy low, but it doesn't feel totally like an elongated.
It doesn't. And that's my sweet spot right there. Is that long hybrid.
Yeah.
So I'm digging this. I hit it against the Agassi today. Have a few thoughts about that, but we'll cover that later.
Okay. Yeah. Hot damn. Okay.
Yeah.
I never thought that your pulses would be replaced with a Joola.
Wow. I didn't either.
Okay.
Didn't either.
I knew something was up when you asked if we were doing rounds today.
I'm not particularly proud about that. But
sorry.
The pickleball heart wants what the pickleball heart wants.
It does.
You know?
Let's check back in another week. See how that goes. Okay. All right. Now let's go to new paddles. So we'll do our let's start here. Let's do our Onix paddles first.
Yeah.
Where did those go? Bottom of our pile here. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So we got two of them in. We have the Onix Premier Pro. This is standard shape paddle, raw carbon fiber. They come in multiple thicknesses. So we got the 14. They sell the 10, the 12, the 14, the 16. Gen 2 thermoformed. Been around for a long time. The Malice. This comes in a couple thicknesses, 14 and 16, I believe. It also comes, I noticed, in a couple different design renditions. So they have the ones with this throat that has the rubbery thing in it, right? Supposed to dampen vibrations. And then they have one without that.
Oh, okay.
And the prices vary. And I just noticed, I didn't notice this before, but they have a hybrid, a cross of these now, where the Malice and the Evoke are combined, and they have the Malice shape, but in raw carbon fiber. So I'm actually bummed that we didn't get that one. I was looking at their website here, but these are both different from each other, but also very different from the other paddles.
Yeah.
Let's start with the Malice.
Okay.
What's your thoughts on the Malice, Brent? What'd you think of it?
It's a paddle.
It is a paddle.
So yeah, it is 14 millimeters. It's that thin core. It's edgeless. So when I was hitting with it, it did feel like it needed some weight for stability. It felt a little harsh on the feedback. It is a shape that I'm not too fond of either. So like these paddles had a lot going against them for me. Yeah, those
are three things those are not Brent's paddle. No. Edgeless, 14, not 16, and standard-ish shaped. Yeah.
So yeah. I played with it. I think I may have lost to Dustin in a game with this one.
That's typical.
Not typical.
That's typical.
But yeah, it's decent pop. Power, I didn't really get a ton of power out of this one, and it just felt not very stable in my hand. It felt like I was playing with a paddle that would have been good a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But with all the advances in technology and all the innovation that's come along, this one feels hard to play with, for me at least, now.
Yeah, this is not Brent's jam. No. This is not the kind of thing Brent usually likes, but I kind of liked it. But here's what I don't like. So this one sells for $250. They vary all over in their prices, depending on the fine details of the construction. But this one is $250. I think that's a little much for what it is. Yeah. It's not new tech. But for me, it felt like I actually thought I was getting good power from it, because it kind of feels almost a little bit head heavy, like not in a bad way though, but that shape kind of. And I think it's like a standard out on a stick almost, Yeah,
and I think this adds a little bit of weight.
It probably does, not a ton.
But not a ton.
Yeah, it's clearly spray on grit. I don't know if you said that or not. So I have never found anything that hasn't been a durability concern as far as that goes. But yeah, that was my thought, is that I think people who like the 𝒂𝒄 Power Air would probably like the feel of this, except for I think this packs, from what I experienced, I think it hits a little harder in drive speed, but is a little less maneuverable. And it's also expensive, just like a Power Air. So in that way, and it's a totally different shape, but yeah, that's the closest thing I can compare it to. But
yeah, I will say that I was able to get two hands on it pretty, like, surprisingly comfortably. Two hands. It is holding the throat area.
The handle
right
goes
there.
like straight up for a while.
Yeah, so you've got plenty of clearance to put two hands on it pretty easily if you're hitting a two-hander. So that was nice. But yeah, not my cup of tea. But I think in the right person's hands,
I like the shape. Okay. I think the shape has potential in the future if you do something different with it. It's just not going to compete with most of what we have to offer the market now. I can't think of a person I would recommend it to, except for if you like a Power and you want something to hit harder, or you just like Onix, because it's not bad. It's just not $250 good.
Right. And the ball blends in. I don't know how many people have the issue that I have, which is the ball always blends in with the white background on the paddles.
That's right. So he said that while we were drilling. He's like, I remember why I hate white paddles.
I hate playing against white paddles because I lose the ball until it gets far enough off the face where the white and the ball aren't, I don't know. It messes with my vision. So like I lose maybe half a second of vision of
right
the ball.
After that, Brent got dunked on.
Yeah. So I always hated playing against the white Power Airs. Yeah. Anything that's predominantly white, it always causes me issues. Could just be a me thing, but I think other people do have that issue as well with white paddles.
Brent's got a lot of complaints. He's got a lot of complaints.
I can make all the excuses in the world, all right?
Let's talk about the Premiere Pro. I'll go first on this one. So this one, I actually made a review video, like a full-on video of the 10 millimeter version of this, because I don't know if he still does. I haven't seen him play in a long time, but I'm sure he's around. Matt Wright played with the 10 millimeter Premiere Pro. I know Lucy played with it for a while, and I think Callie did, and probably some other folks. But most people have moved on, and I don't know if that's like a sponsor money thing. But the Premiere Pro is just kind of a general carbon fiber thermoform paddle. The 10 millimeter that I used back in the day was ultra poppy. Yeah, I'm super thin. The sweet spot was really small. I probably made the wrong choice when I chose that thickness. I think the 14's better. It's got kind of a softer feel, I think, for a thermoform paddle. It's kind of a very typical, like, standard shape. It's not a crazy short handle like the Tempo C45 is. But like I pointed out, it's got Brent's favorite grip here with the holes.
Oh, the perforated grips.
Brent's a purist. I love this grip, but yeah, it's a niche thing. You can cover it and it'll be fine. But I think the price on that is a little more reasonable at $200. I think they probably, I think back in the day they did 10% off, so that would be like what, $180? Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe for the right person. If you like standard and you like whippiness because it's really light, plow through is like middle of the road. Yeah. Pop is probably, again, middle of the road for today's age, at least in that thickness. The feel is really nice. It is. More soft, and I thought it spun really well. It's just kind of like nothing jumps out in any sort of a way, but overall, probably decent. Yeah.
Yeah, I think with a little bit of weight, that's not a bad paddle at all. I like that one a lot more than I liked the Malice here. That's just more my jam of a little softer, a little more stable, easier to whip. So yeah, that one felt pretty plush to me, and I enjoyed that one a lot more than
Brent enjoyed a standard shape.
I enjoyed a standard shape, yeah. I hit a couple balls and I was like, oh, this is nice, because I think I started with this one and was just like, ugh.
And then it got up from there.
Yeah, and then I played with the Evoke Premiere and was like, oh,
yeah, it's cheaper. It feels better. Yeah, it spins better. It gets a slight bit more approval from the standard shape hater, Brent.
Is it Isaac Olson that also hates standard shapes?
Yeah,
he's an elongated purist.
Yeah,
I can at least get in the hybrid world. You know, I'm not complete elongated elitist.
You're mostly hybrid world, I feel like. Yeah. So you're one step there.
Yeah.
You're like one step away from being use the Scorpeus a little bit and you'll be there. Okay, let's move on. Any other thoughts with those?
Nope.
Speaking of standard shapes, we have 3 more shapes for the bread and butter filth lineup. Let me grab those. So this is OG bread and butter here. So this is their. So this is essentially the exact same as their. This is the exact same as their original filth as far as the technology, being Gen 2, thermoformed, carbon fiber, whatever. But it's got a new look, and it matches the 2 other shapes. And they're keeping that lower, I believe, $165 price.
I think so, yeah.
And then the one adjustment they're making, I believe, with tariffs is they're going from a 15% off to a 10% off. It's not huge, but still, that puts these right at the $150 mark, which is still not hard to swallow, I don't think, for like a good paddle. But yeah, they've got the elongated here. And then if we go in order, the hybrid shape here, and then the fat boy shape with the nice love handles down here. And we hit these yesterday a little bit. Yeah. What'd you think of them, Brent?
Yeah, I mean, I hit the Filth when it first came out a while ago, and hitting it yesterday, it seemed about the same. Obviously, no changes have been made. Reminds me a lot of like a Carbon 1X. Little head heavy, higher swing weight, but I think I'm getting used to a little bit of a higher swing weight. Like I think it could use a flick weight.
Oh, since you say that,
yeah.
But anyway, sorry, go on.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think anything that comes in as a stock swing weight in the 120s probably could benefit from a little bit of weight below that balance point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got, I thought it was relatively not soft, but it was, like kind of plush feeling.
Yeah. It's less, I remember thinking it was really stiff when it first came out, but I don't know if it's like something has changed over time, but it didn't strike me as being stiff when we hit them the other day, which was nice. Yeah, it was very pleasant.
It was. Decent power on it. I think I would still add just a little bit of weight for stability there, down there. But the filth, the elongated, nothing's changed. It's still a very solid paddle. It's the tech in it is getting sort of outdated, but it's still a good paddle. Yeah. And I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of people coming out with frequent reports of like core crushing or anything, which happened a lot with Gen 2 thermoform construction because they would always get overcompressed from the factory, and then that would, after the heating element would fail and that compressed accordion would loosen, you'd start to see that. Especially that happened a lot with the Carbon 1X. We haven't for whatever reason seen that a lot with bread and butter, and I don't know if that's just because the heating element is different or if they're not compressed or whatever, but that is one benefit that I saw versus the Carbon 1X, which was the main thing people compared it to when it came out, and it was a lot cheaper.
Yeah, for sure. I crushed so many Carbon 1Xs when they first came out. I mean, like when they first came out, like everybody that thermoformed anything was having issues. And I remember it was like every 3 weeks. Just get a new one.
I played with a guy in Nashville that Jason Popkin. He would core crush one like every month.
Yeah,
and I play against him like, all right, time to switch, man. Like, oh goodness.
Before we all knew what delamination and core crushing was, I remember thinking I was just a pickleball god when I was playing with a delam. Or
I had my Legacy Pro 1X. And I was like ripping them like from 5 feet back from the baseline, and somebody said they thought it was delaminated, is what they call it.
Yeah, it used to be delaminated. Was the
term. You're out of your mind.
That's all me, baby. I've been in the gym.
Do you think the elongated is your preference on these? Yeah. I know Justin, I was talking to him from Pickleball, etc. He really likes the hybrid.
Okay.
I really like, of all these, I think the mold of the Fat Boy is awesome. Not only because it's unique, but I can pretty comfortably like fit 2 hands if I put a finger up. And the stability on this, it's like I liked the Fat Boy. It had a larger sweet spot. I think it had decent plow through, but it wasn't very poppy. And I think this construction type with the materials makes it just a little bit more poppy than the Fat Boy was. So comparable plow through, a little more poppy, and it kept the stability. So I think maybe just as a direct comparison to the Fat Boy, I really liked their standard shape. Gosh, this is up there for one of my favorite standard shapes for sure.
Wow.
And I don't know if you noticed. Have you? Yeah, and you haven't played with the Fat Boy, right? Did you ever hit the Invader?
Maybe once.
Okay. I came in here right before we came down just to check. Clearly, this is the same mold as the Fat Boy. Mm-hmm. The Hybrid is also the same mold, the exact same shape I laid it over as the Invader. So they use the same mold in that, and then that's of course the same as their original Filth. So they've just made all the shapes in their Filth line, which is like their flagship. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, it was surprising to me that the Filth was still one of Bread and Butter's like highest selling.
Yeah, I think that's their number one selling paddle, even with all those like kind of fancy.
Yeah,
donuts on paddles and stuff.
I thought the Invader would be top right now. Maybe historically the Filth, because it's been around for so long.
per week. I don't know what it is, or if that's just like, but they say it's their highest seller. Mm-hmm. The new shapes I believe are supposed to come out in the second week of May, is what they estimate. If it's anything like their gold paddles, though, they'll keep getting delayed. They got problems with their gold paddles.
Did you order one of their gold paddles?
I did.
Oh, okay.
I ordered two of their gold paddles, actually.
Oh, real money bags.
And so I haven't got them yet, but the Shogun folks got theirs, but the Invaders are delayed. So,
what did you think? Going back to this, when I hit the Hybrid, it felt like it didn't have as much power on it and plow through as I was expecting. Did you get that, or was that just a me thing coming from like the elongated, heavier Filth?
No, interesting. I didn't feel that way, but I didn't feel not that way.
Okay.
I didn't.
No strong feelings.
I didn't note it either way. I just was like, okay, that's cool. It's got like a crisper feel. Mm-hmm. I felt I should go and hit them side by side with the Invader to kind of see, but I think my order of preference is like reversed yours. I like the Fat Boy, then the Hybrid, then the Elongated. Okay. So I was more thinking of feeling sweet spots. So that's good. That's good. We should get back out there and hit them and see.
Yeah.
Play some more games with them. Oh, you might not. I just found out today. So the Nerdy Tourney, which they're having at the end of May. They're flying like 26 of us, like content creators out there. Brent's going. I'm going for a tournament against each other. I don't know how the pairings are going to work, but I heard today that we have to pick a bread and butter paddle for the tournament. So you may want to try yourself an Invader. Okay. And you may want to maybe try a Shogun if you have or haven't. And see.
And an Invader,
And I will be using a Fat Boy either to help our team if we're together or to destroy you. We'll see.
That's interesting little ripple, bread and butter.
The Filth Fat Boy,
I can understand that, They're putting on a tournament, you got to play with their paddle. All right.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was going to be that way one or the other, but that makes it even. And it's just pure skill against one. We'll assert our dominance over there with all those other arrogant film editors. Okay. We'll save that one for next week. Let's do should we jump into the...
I feel like it's unfair because isn't Isaac's main a bread and butter Shogun?
Yeah, somebody commented that when we were talking about it. It's
like
probably
freaking
core
say
clutch or
that.
something. Yeah, bastard. Isaac, little weasel. Okay, let's do the. Let's save those for last. Let's do the Yolas. You want to do the two Yolas?
Let's do it, man.
Okay, so this one was Brent's in the top 3. Would you say it's your number one, or would you say it's just in consideration for your new main, the Joola Hyperion?
Right now, it's my new toy. So, like, right now, it's the one that I want to play with the most now.
Which may or may not be best.
May or not,
for
may
you,
or may not
but
be
it's
best.
your new, new funnest.
It's my new toy, so I want to play with it first. I'd say of the 3, right? The Hyperion, the Pulse X, and the Pulse S. If I had to like rank them, I'd probably say like if I had to play a tournament tomorrow, right? Yeah. Oh man, I'd probably do. I need to hit the Pulse X more. So if it's tournament tomorrow, it's going to be Pulse S number 1, Pulse X number 2, and then the Hyperion
because of familiarity.
Number 3 because of familiarity.
But if you're going to have fun,
if I'm going to have fun, I'm playing with the Joola. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we got the Hyperion, as I said, and the two Scorpeus thicknesses from Hometown Pickleball. I've said it once and I'll say it again. The cheapest way to get these is through a distributor. These guys are the cheapest that I found, and it's not even close. We've been trying to figure out, because you can't advertise pricing, you can't say it, and you can't advertise discount codes or anything. I think what we figured we would do is put a form, like a link to a Google document or a Google survey or whatever, in the link below this. If you fill it out, it'll send an email to John over at Hometown Pickleball, just saying like your preferred method of contact. He'll shoot you a message, tell you what price he can offer you, and all I'll say is it's by far not even close to the cheapest offering that I've heard somebody's willing to give these to people for. Nice. So that's probably the direction that I'll start sending people to who want any of these Joola paddles. And thank you to sending them to us. As I said before, advertised as elongated. It's the same. They have the 14 and the 16 millimeter thickness. It is slightly shorter. Curved top. It's like 16.375, whatever. I think it's a full 7.5 wide. I don't know. But to me, like when I play with it, it feels like a hybrid. It doesn't feel like an elongated paddle. The sweet spot I felt was on the higher side. Like we were comparing this and the Agassi is really getting down in the nitty gritty. I think the sweet spot is probably like 3/4 of the way up on this one. So it hits kind of high. You can see my clear ball dust pattern is right at the sweet spot,
my car
right
and grab
there.
mine.
Perfect on the spot. Brent's is like, wow.
Oh yeah.
Freaking 𝒕𝒕𝒐𝒏𝒏. So the sweet spot is a little bit higher.
I'm gonna start using that.
I came up with that on the spot right here. But it is much lighter than the Perseus for sure.
It is, yeah.
I forget if I've measured swing weight on this or not, but clearly, I mean, I've got 3 grams on just above the 3 and 9.
Yeah.
And it's still plenty.
Whatever the swing weight was, you bumped it by at least 3, 4, 5 points.
Yeah, and it's still lighter than a Pro 4. Than a Perseus Pro 4. I do think my initial impression was that it was a little on the stiff side before being like hit around a little bit. I've only had a handful of sessions on my Hyperion model here, but it has loosened up a little bit. I think just the components, not a break-in per se, but just kind of a typical, it's not brand freaking new anymore. And it's loosened up a little bit. Became a little bit more pleasant. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your feelings of the Hyperion?
I was hitting the 16 yesterday and today. I don't think I hit the 14 at all.
We haven't put a ton of time on the 14 yet. We'll have to get around to that.
We will. Yeah. We have biases towards the 16 millimeters.
Yeah, that's usually what I like best. Rarely do I like the thinner one, but sometimes I do.
Sometimes, yeah.
No, rarely.
I have a narrow preferred paddle that I like, which is 16 millimeter. Has to be
It's got to be plush. It's got to be a high launch angle. It's got to be not edgeless, and it's got to be a certain shape and width, and you got to get 2 hands on it, and it's got to have dwell time, and it's got to not be
picky.
Gen 2, and it's got to not be Gen 1, and it's got to have a monkey on it. And
it's got to have a little bit of foam, but not too much. It's got to be pretty heavy, but not too heavy. I need the Goldilocks.
I think we overlap quite a bit, actually. It's like usually if Brent likes it, I like it a lot. And then I think that most people like it because we're not crazy. But anyways, go on.
So anyways, the 16 millimeter Hyperion hit with that yesterday and today. It like I said earlier, it kind of did fill in all those voids and gaps that I was feeling with the Perseus Pro 4. In the sense that the Pro 4 felt a little too heavy, a little too powerful, not quite maneuverable enough. And the Hyperion kind of checks all those boxes for me. To me, it feels pretty plush. Maybe that's because we were playing with the C45s a lot as well. So those in comparison, kind of main ones today, it was feeling pretty soft and plush. So it might be actually a little stiffer than I'm thinking or remembering, but it's just our frame of reference over the past couple of days was more stiff paddles, and the Joolas were more of the softer side of things. Because
I was using the unmarked, and then I went to the Hyperion, and so I thought the Hyperion felt stiff.
That makes sense.
There's got to be, we need some sort of like, you smell coffee beans.
A little palate cleanser.
Yeah, a little palate cleanser. Exactly. We got a
little ginger kind of a coffee between bean your paddle
that's not super like, what's like just middle-ish of the road. Anyways. I digress. But
I thought it has just the right amount of power for me. I think it's definitely still a power paddle. It's just not quite as hot on plow through as the Perseus Pro 4.
Yeah.
Not quite as poppy as the Perseus Pro 4 in my opinion either.
And that's newish too though. But yeah.
That's what?
Newish. And they're newish. So they haven't like loosened or gotten more poppy. Yeah. So out of the box right now.
Yeah, out of the box.
I feel like they're going to stay less. But yeah. For sure.
And I think you're right. I think it does play more like a hybrid, and that's what I prefer. I like that maneuverability. And I think the spin was great on it too.
Yeah.
Just I didn't notice really many like differences in the spin on the Hyperion versus like the Perseus Pro 4. It just kind of does all the things that I wanted the Perseus Pro 4 to do less of.
Yeah.
It does those just the right amount of less for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you can, the first day I played with it, I wasn't quite dialed. The sweet spot is one of the hardest things when switching between paddles is locating like that sweet spot. And so if you're not hitting it, it feels like the paddle is kind of shitty. You're like, oh, this sweet spot's so small, or like I'm missing all the time, or like I just can't get my flow going. But like once I got that a little bit more dialed in, it felt much better. And I think the word that you said it pretty accurately describes my experience that I had with it today, especially when we played, was effortless. Like, and not like blowing the roof off power. No. It was like, it did the work for me after going from paddles that I had to do the work to kind of work harder to get what I wanted. I went to that and I'm like, ooh, God, that's nice. Like I'm not overextended. I hate how much I liked it.
I know.
I do, because they are expensive, and it's
they are. Yeah.
I mean, even as a reviewer, part of me is like, fight the man, you know.
Exactly.
Not that I hate y'all. Don't hate me for this. But you almost kind of like want to root for the little guy. But no, the big guys made a good paddle here. They made
really
a good
did.
set of paddles.
They really did. They took the 3S and I think improved upon it. Right.
Very much so. Yeah, they really did.
And the Hyperion is shaping up to be, potential main for me. Who knows how that plays out? I think the location of the sweet spot being a little higher up plays into my preference as well, because that's generally where I hit the ball. If we had my paddle in, you could see there's a tight pattern just above the middle of the paddle. Just around the
edge of the paddle.
Yeah, all over the edge.
You should have seen that
If by edge you mean high center.
It's like he dropped a bowl of spaghetti on there and he's just like...
Slopposaurus.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think the sweet spot lines up perfectly for me. I did add some tungsten for I don't. You have let me see.
I have one.
Yeah.
That doesn't have anything on it.
Add some
That's the 14.
Some tungsten from like this little silver little insert right there.
It's not functional. That thing doesn't do anything.
It helps me line up my lead.
It's cool. It's like it's a marker of some kind, but you don't see through it.
I don't know what that's for, but it does help me line up the tungsten.
It's like the fiberglass on boats that are supposed to make it so you can see down into the water, and most of the time they're shitty. Yeah, it's like that.
It's like, look into our core.
Like, what the hell is that? Anyways, it's kind of cool.
Yola, please respond to what that is. But I do appreciate having a landmark to do my tungsten on. So it goes from like the top of that silver to like the 3 and 9 position. So I did add probably 0.3, 0.4 of tungsten to this area, and hitting it without lead to lead, I did feel it felt a lot more stable. It's not unstable out of the box at all.
Yeah, I do think it benefits. You're right.
It does. It benefits from that. It adds a little bit more plow through as well, because I think out of the box it's a little less than what I was wanting. Again, still in the power category, but I needed a little bit more, but not quite Perseus level plow through.
Yeah.
So, I think with that lead setup of around the throat area up to around the 3 and 9 position, it's kind of perfect for what I'm going for. It keeps the maneuverability, adds stability, adds some plow through, and just, I don't know, makes it. You're right. It's actually, I'm right in describing it as effortless, especially compared to the other paddles we were hitting today. Like even resets or just like boop.
Yeah.
Just right back over.
I switched to the Scorpius and you switched to that in a game, and all of a sudden we were just kicking ass. Yeah. All right, Hyperion lover. What's the downside of it?
It's $280 or however much it is.
Yeah. It is expensive.
I think I'm in the honeymoon stage with it right now.
Yeah.
It's
Brent's
hard to point out.
having a hard time clearing his mind.
I am.
All right.
I am. It's hard to point out negatives of it right now. God. I hate that I can't think of a negative right now. Honestly.
Yeah, give it a okay. Let's circle back.
Yeah, we'll circle back. I will have negatives. I'm great at making excuses.
I would say price too, except for I do feel like if you go through, I will just say like going through the hometown pickleball thing, like that's very good.
There's options.
It's very competitive. That's all I'll say with that. I don't think you've had a chance to hit these next ones, unless you have anything to add about your new Hyperion love.
No.
So again, from hometown pickleball, we got the.
Sorry, they're standard shapes. I don't hit standard shapes.
Yeah, but they're good standard shapes though. So and they have standard shapes with longer handles is kind of the big deal here.
Yeah.
So. And they're a true full width standard. So I've got the Scorpius, Joola Scorpius 16 and 14 millimeter thicknesses. Yeah, they're a very solid, hard hitting, manageable pop level paddle. And then I think, did I bring that? There's like a little green paper. Let me grab this paper right here real quick. So the swing weight and twist weight on these. So the 14 had a swing weight of 108 and the 16 was 113. And then both of these had a twist weight over 7.
Wow.
So the 14 was exactly 7 and the 16 was 7.64. And then the gross weight of the 16, so these are the same as actually my Perseus model. So the 14 was 8, which is like, I don't know, kind of like a 7-pound baby. That's just at average.
Yep.
And the 16 millimeter was 8.3 ounces. So
a little on the heavier side.
Yeah, like gross weight. Yeah, but the balance points are both really low. So they're in the 230s, which again gives it the impression, along with low swing weight, that it's not tilting away from your hand so much. So they don't feel heavy. They just feel solid. When we switched from other paddles that we were using that day, which we'll circle around to and compare. Again, these felt a bit more effortless. I didn't use. I mean, I hit with the 3S, Joola 3Ss, and the Scorpiuses, the Gen 2 Scorpiuses. Again, I just think these are the right improvements. Downsides for me today. It's hard to find downsides. Oh, no. I do have one. I do have a good one. No, really.
We got to be balanced here.
No, yeah. Gosh, I really hate when we don't have a downside. But
I know.
For the 14 in particular, the second I picked it up, I like took it over to you. I was like, dude, do you feel this? Because I played a game with the 16, and then I picked up the 14. So I don't know why it's so pronounced in this particular paddle, but the handle on the 14, almost always in all pickleball paddles, the face kind of runs continuously down into the handle. And so that's why a lot of the times the 16 millimeter paddles have a more, round or, octagonal, equilateral, a round circumference on their handles. And sometimes the 14s get really flat.
Yeah.
And I felt like that.
That one's flat.
Yeah. This one feels flat to me. It's wider than it is wide the other way.
Yeah.
Whichever way you want to call wide. And so I didn't really like that. It was kind of hard to hold a continental grip for me on this particular 14 model.
Yep.
It's not crazy like the Komodo Gen 3s were really bad. Those are super wide. Like it's almost impossible to hold a continental. But it is something that, like, if you mind having one side more wide than the other, that's going to bother you. But I definitely preferred the 16 with the higher plow through power, the more absorbent type feel.
Yeah.
But overall, those are two very good standard paddles. And I think the longer handle, which affords a lot more room for two hands, makes it so I didn't feel like I was missing out a ton on reach. Maybe if I was like diehard elongated, like I would feel it here, but not so much just playing with a hybrid or standard.
You're just more well-rounded pickleball player
That's
than
right.
I am, you know?
That is exactly right. I can adapt and win no matter what.
Oh, I will say, it's not really a con that I have, but I know a guy that loves his Scorpeus 3S. He got a Scorpeus Pro 4, does not like it nearly as much as his 3S. He says it has less feel than his 3S. Which was surprising. Morgan Kaplan.
Oh, really? I wonder why he thinks that. Well, feel. So, I mean, I do think they dampen. Just generally, they dampen vibration. Dampened.
Yeah, dampened.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Vibrations are lower.
Yeah. Like the 3S has always felt a little hollow to me. I don't know if that's what he's.
It is a feel difference for sure.
Yeah, it is a feel difference.
I suppose if there's a preference, I do get more feedback from the 3S versions. Yeah. So if you, I mean, it's not like GX2 or True Foam level of blockage, but I don't know. I thought it felt nice.
I did too. I prefer more of a muted feel, not completely mute like a GX2 or a True Foam, but like decently.
I don't like
muted
stiff
feel.
vibrations.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Anything else with those, Brent?
Yeah, I just felt like I needed to add another negative to the
Good.
Joola.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
It feels like we're just singing all positives.
You know what? Everybody who has negatives, just throw them in the comments.
Yeah.
Let's freaking kick them because then you'd be humbled. But
should we talk about how the Hyperion compares to the Agassi? Just touch on that? Or?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, so let's do the... I think we've been getting a lot of questions about the Hyperion
and
versus
I had the question
Agassi.
myself as well. Yeah. Like, what's the difference? They're so similar.
Yeah, and Brent hit those side by side a lot today, and I hit the Hyperion and I hit the Agassi a lot in the past. But that was like Brent's big question of the day. Like we stayed after, so he could drill those.
We stayed after 20 minutes to hit, so that I could hit the Hyperion and the Agassi side by side, both 16 millimeter variants, and. They do play, in my opinion, very similarly. The thing that I was noticing that might be a difference that I can point to is just that the Hyperion feels a little bit more maneuverable, and I think it's because it is slightly shorter, maybe a little wider. I'm not sure about the width on the Agassi versus the Hyperion, if there is any difference on that or not.
It's definitely a shape difference because
there's a shape difference
it's kind
for
of
sure.
Like it's rounded versus more of a conventional, hybrid shape.
Yeah, and there was something about the sweet spot of the Agassi maybe was a smidge lower than the Hyperion. So when I would hit balls up in that top, maybe 2 inches from the edge guard on the top of the paddle, they'd feel a lot more solid to me on the Hyperion than they would on the Agassi. I felt like I was losing some velocity and getting some feedback. Yeah. 2 inches maybe from the top of the edge guard, top of the paddle, whereas I was feeling more solid, less feedback at that same spot on the Hyperion. Yeah,
we actually sat there afterwards and you can bounce a ball just on the face and kind of like locate the sweet spot, and proportionate to its overall face length, I do think the sweet spot on the Agassi, man, what a good ball pattern there. Ball dust pattern.
Yeah, I wonder who did that.
This is mine for sure. You can see Brent's set up here. Yeah. Bastard. Anyways, so I think the sweet spot is like 2/3 of the way up on the Agassi. I think it's high. It's on the high side for sure, like relatively speaking. But yeah, the Hyperion is probably more like 3/4 of the way up. It's definitely higher, proportionate to the face, even though the face is a little bit shorter. So I do think overall the sweet spot at least felt a bit higher on that Hyperion. Yeah.
It felt like I got more feedback on the same spot that I would hit, which I admittedly is probably a little too high to hit, right? It's probably a little too high from the center of the sweet spot on most paddles to hit. So like I'm precise. I might not be accurate every time, but I'm precise. I'm hitting that same spot most of the time. The same bad-ish spot. But if you give me a paddle that has a sweet spot closer to my bad spot, I like it. So that I think those were the small differences that I noticed in those two. The Agassi from the baseline felt like it had a little more plow through, a little more power.
For sure.
But hard to notice. Like they to me they play really similarly. At least weighted up the way that I had them. I haven't hit them stock side by side. I've hit them weighted up to close to the same, like static weight.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would say, is that the Agassi might have more plow through, might have a slightly lower location of the sweet spot, but it's a little less maneuverable. And I guess it's whatever you prefer, whatever suits your game more. Do you want more, a smidge more plow through with a slight sacrifice in maneuverability, or would you rather be more agile?
Tell me if this resonates with you, Brandon. Maybe this goes without saying, but the handle and the shape of the Agassi, again, for if people haven't thought of it, is much more accommodating for two hands. Like, you can get two hands on here like nothing. Whereas the Hyperion is kind of conventional, hybrid. If you're putting two full hands on there, you'll probably need to put your finger up to get it on. So that's a big thing as well. And in my personal experience, the one other thing, I thought the 16 Agassi had maybe just a touch more dwell time as well. I thought the launch angle,
I could see that.
It held and launched just a little bit higher. Whereas I thought the Hyperion, for whatever reason, I don't know why. Like, maybe small mechanics, I thought it came off just a little bit faster. Although overall, decent dwell time.
Yeah, and maybe if the Hyperion loosens up anymore, it'll pocket the ball a little longer and launch it a little higher as well. But yeah, I think you're right. The two-hander on the Agassi just feels like your hands are locked in there. Like, it feels really good. It's very comfy. Honestly. Like, it's like this paddle was made for a two-handed backhand.
It was.
And they designed everything else around that.
Yeah. Okay. I think those are probably our major differences.
Yeah.
We're good? Okay.
Major, minor differences.
Major, minor differences. Yeah, that major, minor differences. Okay, so let's get to our main new paddles here. So we've got the C45s, the Franklin C45s. So they've got the Dynasty shape. Is what they call their elongated in both the 16 and the 14 millimeter version. And then we've got the Tempo, which is their, standard or, conventional or whatever they want to call this shape. A few housekeeping items here. I'll pull them up on my notes. I took a couple notes before we talk about how they play.
While you're pulling that up, I will say these paddles in person and hopefully on camera are very sexy looking.
Yeah, these are
very sexy.
I hope that the film does them good here, because these are glossy and shiny and they look very good. First, which is kind of our first housekeeping item. So I don't know why, but the paddles are sent that the pros are using now. Hayden, and I actually didn't see if JW is using the elongated or not, but the colors are going to be flipped. So the elongateds are going to be this, whatever you call this,
tealish
color. Yeah. The elongated is going to be that, and then the standards are going to be red.
Yeah.
So those will be flipped.
I don't think I'm a fan of flipping the colors. I like the colors as they are.
I like
honestly.
the red, and
I like
so
the red on the elongated
to stay red.
Yeah.
Right. And then I asked him a few questions specifically that I was curious about. So as far as tariffs, which is like our topic of the day, so no changes. Their prices are going to stay the same.
Okay.
So they won't change any prices for tariffs. These are already dual certified, even though the ones that we got only have the UPAA stamp on them.
Yeah.
I don't know how that, entails into USAP certification, but you can go on and
they're on the list. Website. They're on USAP's
they're
list.
on there.
Yeah.
So they've been approved. And
sorry guys, I'm just scratching all the poison ivy.
I noticed that earlier actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were doing a Medrol pack?
I did. Yeah. I did a 5-day steroid dose pack, and Still got.
I've got cream upstairs.
I got lots. I'm a pharmacist. Yeah, I got
Brent's
lots of
got
cream,
his stuff at home.
But it's just I'm an idiot and didn't see the poison ivy in the other brush that I was clearing, and just got it all everywhere.
That is what life in North Carolina is like.
In the spring, yes.
It's coming from Utah. We're like, that's just not a thing. They don't have that there.
No, it's
and here
terrible.
I was like, what is this? I'm so sensitive to it too.
I know. And the terrible thing is, like, it shows up like 24 to 72 hours later.
Yeah.
So you're like, what is this rash? Where did it come from? And
it's like it's a type 4 delayed hypersensitivity reaction.
And
like
it just
T-cell mediated. So it's like, it stays.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, now we'll swell up.
Yeah. And it's just been like just moving since last weekend. It's just like it started in one spot, and it's just like, oh, here's a new spot. Oh, here's a new spot. Oh, is this itchy? Oh, that's more poison ivy for you.
It's a good thing Brent likes red. Okay, excuse our deviation during our Franklin stuff here. Sorry about that. But Brent's suffering. Anyways, and then our last housekeeping item here. Oh yeah, so I've been getting questions about if the hybrid C45 is going to come in 16 millimeter, and the answer that Ryan keeps saying is there's no plans for it, but if demand is high enough, which I think people want it. So do it, Ryan. Do it, Ryan. We want it. And I would want it, but
I would love to hit a 16 millimeter hybrid C45.
Yeah, I think so far, I'll just say generally speaking, the 16s in all shapes are my favorite for sure. And I think those are what people are kind of been waiting for. Especially, you get a lot of questions about the elongated version. You go first, Brent. Yeah, let me share your impressions first.
I have such mixed feelings about these paddles. Getting them in the mail, opening them up, I was like, whoa, these paddles look great. I've been so excited about getting some of the elongateds in 16 millimeters because, as we've discussed, that's my jam. Anything 16 millimeter hybrid or elongated I'm looking for. And I really like the C45 and 14. Yeah. It eventually got to the point where I felt it was maybe a little too poppy. It didn't have the response that I was wanting from
the hybrid shape one.
The hybrid
that came out before. Yeah,
it was getting to the point where I didn't enjoy it as much, but I liked it initially. So when I heard that we're getting the 16 millimeter elongated, so I was like, oh, so excited. And so took them out, hit them. Mine came in really light. I don't know what yours came in.
Oh, yes, they're very light,
Like my elongated 16 and 14 both came in at like 7.8 ounces.
Yeah, mine were, for the elongated, 7.9 for both of mine. Yeah. And then my standards were 7.7 and 7.8 ounces.
Yeah. So still very light, much like the hybrid C45 comes in very light. So
nothing new there.
Nothing new. So we took them out. I hit them without weight because I was like, I gotta try these without weight. Did not like it without weight.
Yeah, these are not good without weight. They're just not. They have to have weight.
Yeah, especially elongated. Like you need a little weight for just some stability in there as well. Yeah. And so I ended up adding enough weight to bring the static up to like 8.3, 8.4. Added it from like the throat all the way up to like high 3 and high 9, getting close to like 2 and 10 on the paddle. And we played with that. I played with that today earlier, and it did feel better for sure, but still wasn't giving me exactly what I was hoping. So the plow through power, I would say, is a little lacking even with all that weight. I had to put a lot of effort into it to get returns deep, to get serves deep, to put away balls. Anything with like a long stroke, I wasn't getting that plow through power that I was hoping for from a 16 millimeter elongated Gen 3 paddle. Yeah. Even with weight.
It is kind of strange in that regard.
It is. Yeah. It is. The 16 millimeter, the launch angle on that is pretty low. I don't know if that's just from like low dwell on a non-broken in C45 or what that's coming from.
I felt like that was what it was.
So launch angle was low, which on my drives kind of was perfect. It let me shape the ball really well and only cleared the net by a few inches. So the drives I really enjoyed in the sense that it kept it very low. But it didn't have the plow through on serve returns and serves and putaways that I was hoping for. Pop was decent, I would say. Had a little bit more pop than power to me. It felt like the power was more like in the all court, maybe leaning power category, and the pop was closer to that power category. The maneuverability was pretty good on it because it is so light. I think it came in swing weight of like 117.
You're talking about the 16?
The 16 C45.
Yeah, mine was 116.
Yeah. So reasonably high swing weight out of the box for a very light paddle. But even with that high swing weight, it didn't feel like it had a high swing weight on it. I think because the balance point is
the balance point's really low. They're like, what do I have here? Like 239 for the 14, which is quite low, and 241 for the 16, which is also quite low. So swing weight and balance point both go into how paddle feels like as far as it pulling down on your hand and whatever. And even with a swing weight pushing 120 with the low balance point, that's kind of like what the slice caps and the flick weights and whatever, the benefit that they provide is lowering that. So because that's so low, it still feels very light in your hand.
Yeah, it does. It feels very maneuverable, even with a high swing weight. So the perceived maneuverability is still pretty high.
Yeah.
I think I was just a little disappointed in the lack of plow through power and the feel on it when it comes to like resets and soft shots. I was getting some more feedback, a little less solid than I was hoping for as well.
Yeah. Remind me, you said you weighted yours up to how much?
Like 8.4 from 7.8 to 8.4.
Yeah. And I imagine, overall it probably, does it feel heavy or light still?
It still feels pretty light, actually. Yeah. Like I still feel like I could add more to it.
I think I share a similar experience with what you had. A nice way of like contrasting it is if you look at the Joola Pro IV, the 14 plays, I think, very differently than the 16 millimeter version does. The 14 is a lot more poppy, less plow through, but it has a distinct feel that's different than the 16, which has higher dwell time, higher plow through. It grabs and throws a little bit more. The 14 and 16 of both models of the C45s are not terribly different feeling now. At least new out of the box, they're very close. They are distinct and they do feel different, but it's not like these are way different. They're like, okay, marginally different.
Yep.
I think I'm thinking and hoping that they have some more break-in because out of the box they are not that different from the C45 that we played with before, the hybrid one. In that they have great pop. Pop is good, very good. Plow through, you have to work for it. So I wrapped, I played a day with it stock with both the 16 standard and the 16 elongated stock, and then I played a day. I just wrapped the whole thing in like 0.5 gram per inch. I just wrapped the whole face.
It's all wrapped.
It's all the way around there. And I don't think it was enough. But the nice thing is that it's not too much pop so far,
right?
To where it's like, if I weight it up more, it's going to be too poppy. And that's only a few days, a handful of days playing with it. So I think it has room to break in.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping it kind of does to increase dwell time and plow through. And it has more room to, I think mine still feels very maneuverable and light.
Yeah, it does.
So it has room for that break in. The sweet spot was a little lower than I expected. Maybe like, I don't know, middle-ish of the face right now. Yeah. Probably correlating with that balance point. I do like the 16 better, even though it's marginally different than the 14.
Yeah.
Did you play much with the 14 so
I did
far?
play a few games with the 14. Kind of like you said, I couldn't tell a ton of difference between the two. The one thing that I could tell a slight difference on was that dwell and launch angle. So the launch angle is still pretty low with the 16, but going to the 14, it definitely is another level lower than that.
Yeah.
So you really have to like lift on the drives and flicks to get them up and over. Yeah,
the big pros of these paddles, just in general, all four of these new shapes, as well as the other one, is they're maneuverable as hell. Like they're really fast, and they have really strong pop. And I actually really like the feel. The face feels good. The launch angle, it's not a pro or a con, but it is really low. So if you have a 10 millimeter paddle like I do, like the Unmarked as your frame of reference, or you're using a Joola Pro IV, which has kind of a high launch angle, like you hit it and it kind of seems to almost hold and then release a little bit higher, you're going to be, I found myself just kind of dumping balls into the net because it was releasing sooner. Yeah. You kind of have to, I think, to play well with these, you swing or hit from lower with like a higher angle on the paddle so that you can create more of an, in my head, I create more of an arc, and then I started kind of like hitting things better because, I needed to get my launch angle further up. But I think they overall, all of them need more break-in time
Yes.
to really feel like where they're going to land.
Yeah, I think it's something we'll revisit in a couple of weeks to see, all right, we've hit them some more. Have they broken in more? Have they changed in feel or plow through power or anything? Has the pop gotten too unreasonable? I will say, it sounds like I'm not a fan of these paddles, and that's not quite a fair characterization.
We're skeptics still.
I'm skeptical, but I will say I hit the best drives with these Franklin C45s. The hybrid, the new elongated ones, I think because my stroke, it does go from low to high on a drive. Yeah. It shapes it so well and clears the net by so little, but it's going to be short in the court. So I think that lack of plow through power works to my advantage there. That lack of plow through and that low launch angle create a best case scenario for my stroke and my drive. It's just everything else felt a little off to me. You said you liked the feel off the face.
Yeah. Not so much for you?
Not so much. Yeah, I was hoping the 16 gave me more of that, more soft, more plush feel.
It's not conventional 16 in that way.
It's not. I think I was telling you, the 16 plays a lot like a 14 millimeter.
It does play
like,
me. That's exactly right. I think that's a good way of putting it, actually. Thanks for saying that. It's probably the closest to 14 as a 16 gets almost. Mm-hmm. But I thought serves were really fun because you can really pick your angle. And I just like the hybrid. I thought the shape that I could put on the ball was really good. It's cool to watch it on drives and serves. Yeah, everything else, it takes a little bit to dial in.
Mm-hmm. And the dip you can put on it is really, really nice with these. It's just, we'll hit with it more. I think I either need more weight or more time for it to break in.
I think both, perhaps. And did you hit with so this is our standard. Have you hit with this much yet?
Maybe once in a drilling game that we did, maybe.
Yeah. So Brent needs more time on this. I need more time on this, but I've played a couple of days with these now. Again, the difference between the 14 and 16 of the standards is not huge, but compared to the elongateds, I mean, there's elongated hybrids and then standards here. These are more springy out of the box, I think, because they're wider. A lot of times the wide bodies or standards have just more room to flex and bow and bounce a little bit more. So even when we were just dinking the very first day we got it, I felt like these had a little bit more of a spring and a pop to them. But these have a weird shape. That's kind of one of my things. You can't go from an elongated to this. Mm-hmm. It was really tough for me to adjust going from
you struggled in that transition game. I was played so
shitty because not only is it like a two shape jump, but the handle on this is really short, 5 point whatever inches, that you're for sure not a two-handed person is not going to like this. The handles are really good. I love the molds that they have on these handles. But this is going to be your paddle face is right here. It's like I was telling you, I almost felt like, Cal Dustin just putting your hands up there. The paddle the face is at your hand.
Yeah, because it's not quite 16 inches, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't use its full dimensions. It's a little bit shorter than 16 inches, and it's a little bit less wide than 8 inches. So what did I say? It's shorter than 16 inches, or less wide than 8 inches.
Yeah, so it's 15 3/4 by 7 3/4 or whatever.
And for sure it makes it more fast. This is the king of maneuverability. This is crazy fast. But this is going to be for people who want to handle a paddle in their hands that they can just go any direction with. But it definitely is in pretty stark contrast to these Joola Scorpeus, which is more full, got a little bit more of a dwell and a throw type feel to it, better sweet spot. Again, I wrapped the 16 that I was playing with all the way around with half gram per inch lead tape, and I think it was just a hard adjustment for me so far to get used to the shape and the short handle and going from the long to that one. So
so you're saying that as far as power and pop go, you think the standard shape tempos have the most pop out of the box?
Yes, definitely.
And it kind of goes, I guess, inverse. So the hybrid has probably the middle amount of pop, and then the elongated has the least amount of pop. Still poppy, but the least in the C45 line.
Yeah. If you think a trampoline, a wider trampoline will have, a bigger suck in further in the middle and bounce back. And that's kind of the way I think of these shapes sometimes. And I think that that's true here. Again, these are probably closer to first impressions than like what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that I think is really nice. So these aren't going to release until probably early June, I think.
I think so.
So just like when 11.6.24 released their power paddles and we had time to play with them, I think we're going to have a lot of time. Most reviewers are going to have a lot of time
I appreciate
to see what's going to happen.
I appreciate when we have lots of time to form an opinion, especially if it's a Gen 3 type paddle, because we know that the vast majority of those are going to change in one way or another based on how many hours you put on them. So whenever they give us a month plus to play with it and really evaluate it, I'm a fan of that. Yeah,
I agree. So I think our opinions on them will most likely develop and enrich, or for better or worse, I guess, over the coming weeks. But that's going to be something that we'll put some more time on with our weighting, with our break-ins, and see where to go from there.
Yeah. And the same thing with the Hyperion as well. That's more of a first impression too. You know, we've only had
Brent can hate it next week.
I know. I could come back next week and be like, that thing's a piece of shit. But
screw that. Okay. All right. Anything else, Brent?
No, other than I'm, just itchy.
Ah, poor guy. Poison ivy. It's the worst.
Yeah.
Good thing he's got his resources as a pharmacist.
You gotta use your resources.
That's right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us for the 13th episode of the PBMED podcast. I'm your host, Dustin, and this is my co-host Brent.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
See you guys later.